first step towards your abundance is believing you can have it. And the key to believing in yourself is being kind to yourself and choosing to love yourself and creating thoughts and actions that are kind and compassionate to yourself. So spend time observing what you say to yourself.
It all begins by understanding the mind.
I want to be happy now. I don't care about the future. I want to be happy right now.
You are not alone. You are never, ever, ever alone in this.
It's helped my voice grow and given me freedom to be creative on my own.
I'm Christina Barcy. Welcome to Be Bold, Begin, a podcast dedicated to you, the creative, the healer, and the innovator. The topics and conversations we have here are designed to help you discover what might be getting in your way and offer you tools, techniques, and guidance to move through them.
I live in the imposter's body more than I live in my own body. I don't have to feel like I don't deserve this.
This is where creativity and healing intersect.
If you decide to be bold and begin, you have the opportunity to feel humbled and empowered. I totally believe that.
I'm a certified Kaizen Muse creativity coach, a certified Reiki energy healer, and an entrepreneur, artist, and presenter. I will share with you my experiences, my proven tools and techniques that helped me and my clients and loved ones shift and expand in the areas they most desired. This is a gentle and open space where you will hear how others are being bold to encourage you to begin your own journey or expand the one you're on. This is Be Bold Begin. Hi, welcome back. This is Barcy, your host. Have you ever caught yourself looking in the mirror and saying things you would never say to anyone else, especially someone you love? I'll be honest, I've been doing this a lot lately, telling myself the meanest things. And once I start, it makes it that much easier to keep going. Maybe I say something shitty to myself in the mirror, then it continues when I go to get dressed. Then it keeps going when I don't work out that day or I feel like I didn't work out enough. Then at the end of my day, I look at my list of things that were meant for today, and there are still a few more things left undone, and that feels shitty too. And I beat myself up about it. So by the end of all of this, I feel so defeated. And by starting my day this way, it's like a gateway to keep going. And before I know it, I've created a really shitty habit. Now that I'm ending my day feeling defeated, I can't sleep. And when I don't get enough rest in order to turn the page the next day, instead I carry that defeat into my morning and I start waking up feeling defeated before I even get out of bed. Look, I know better. In fact, I teach on these things. I talk about self-kindness, positive thinking. I talk about how to remember what we're capable of and how to connect with our power. But the truth is, this can happen to anyone at any point. We can get in this habit of this kind of stuff, this kind of negative stuff. And we forget that we have a choice in how we think. We might forget that we can stop and observe and think something different. But the thing is, with this habit, with these kinds of habits, once they're formed, they become a chore to break. I might sound tired to you today because this shitty habit has been kicking my ass lately and I haven't been able to sleep. It's brought up anxiety that has become omnipresent and I'm not getting rest and I really need that rest because I have very busy days. So my negative thought pattern is literally beating me down, but I know I'm not alone in this. So I'm sharing this with you not because I want your sympathy or that you should worry about me, but because I know that I'm not alone. I know that even when you have the tools, sometimes life gets hard and sometimes we need to take a step back, be honest, and decide that we want to get back to the habits that actually serve us. And sometimes we need a little guidance in doing so. So what does this have to do with abundance? Abundance comes in many forms. It can be creative abundance, like being in the flow. It can be a vibrational abundance of love or money, or it can be things you need coming to you easily. It can be all of these things in a flow. It can be freedom of thought and feeling abundant in those ways. It can be helping and inspiring others, and that can feel abundant. It can be feeling safe and free. Abundance in how you spend your time, right? Time is a big one for people. Self-love, you can have an abundance of self-love. It can be a thriving business that you love that feels abundant. Loving your work that you go to. It can be so many things. So all of this, these feelings that we want, right? In all of those areas, all of this gets strained, and the flow then gets constricted if we don't feel good. If we don't feel like we deserve it because we're busy beating ourselves up and not loving ourselves. If we are literally talking shit to ourselves, it becomes very hard to then give to ourselves when we are thinking this way. And that's what abundance is, right? We have to make space to receive and give to ourselves sometimes in order to get things flowing, right? So this stuff can even have an effect on the people around you, the people that you love. And get this, it can affect the people you want to help. So if you're like me and you do things like this podcast, or you work in a space where you have to show up, kind of in your power for people, when you feel beaten down and tired and depleted, kind of habitually, when you're talking negatively to yourself this way, they start to kind of see those effects too, and that is not sustainable, and that's not okay. So if you're not operating from a place of abundance, you can't bring in this abundance for other people either, at least not very well. So if you are too busy shaming yourself or feeling guilty or defeated or feeling like the imposter, or fear and anxiety is beginning to cripple your experience, the abundance part becomes very, very hard to get to. So I picked up a book today that helped me remember this. It's by Rachel Rogers, and it's called We Should All Be Millionaires. And it reminded me of how simple it is to break this down. It's all about the reframe. I talk about reframes a lot on this show. It is a simple thing you can do at any time, but we have to find a process to begin doing it. And we have to give ourselves permission to believe we deserve to reframe. Yeah, because we are deserving, but what you believe becomes true regardless of what is actually true. So here's the 4 steps of the process to get into a reframe process. The first thing that we all need to do, including myself, is this going on for you in any area of your life? Are you needing to do this process, basically? Are you talking negatively to yourself in any specific area of your life? And what I mean by that is sometimes we're just shitty to ourselves when we look in the mirror. Sometimes we're just mean to ourselves when we don't get enough done that day, or, with our families or with our business or work. There's different parts of our lives that we can be mean to ourselves, and sometimes it's many of those areas or all of them. So that's the first step. It's the awareness step. So what is going on? Where is it going on? And maybe even how often? Well, that's kind of part 2 as well. So part 2, what are you actually saying to yourself? When and about what and how often? So that's the observation part. So the awareness step kind of bleeds into the observational part, but it's just kind of knowing that this is something happening. And then step 2 is really observing what's going on. How is it happening? Where is it happening? What are you saying? What areas of your life are you saying this to yourself about? And then do that. Try to just observe, no judgments. Don't beat yourself up over beating yourself up, because that is actually very common. Try to allow space to just observe. Do this for at least one day, and you may need to do it for more than that. You may need to do it for a whole week. You may need to do it just for a couple of days, but at least one day. and take notes if you need to, or just notice if it's the same phrase again and again. And then the third thing is permission to change it. Only you can grant yourself this permission. Only you can make these kinds of choices about your beliefs, about yourself and your life. It has to come from you. You get to decide you want to feel different and that you want to do different. And then the fourth one, last step, what might you replace those words with? And this is the reframe part. This is when we actually get into the reframe. So think about what you say to yourself. You've made all the observations now. How do you change it? What's the reframe? So for example, if you're saying things like, I'm lazy, I'm so lazy, that might become, I get everything done that needs my attention most. Or it's okay to rest. Another one, common, I think, these pants are too tight and I still haven't lost the weight. That might become, I'm busy being a badass and my badass deserves new pants. Like, stop fighting with yourself about it and maybe just go get some new pants. I probably need to do that one. Another one, I didn't finish my list again. I can't seem to ever get ahead. That might become, I accomplished important things today and I will accomplish more tomorrow. There's so much letting go in that one. I like that one a lot. So by doing this, you start to create a different habit. The way you think and the things you tell yourself are always true. That's how your brain works. It doesn't matter what you're saying to yourself, but whatever you're saying, it becomes the truth to your subconscious mind, to your brain. That's I'm not a neuroscientist, but that's the neuroscience as I understand it of how that works. So that's why belief systems are really, really important. And that's why finding space to be as aware as you can about the things you can be aware of, the way that you talk to yourself, for example, and then deciding if that's something that is working for you. And your brain will believe whatever it is you tell it. Yeah, so if you think you're a piece of shit, then your brain thinks you are. If you think you're amazing, then your brain thinks you are. If you believe you deserve to have the things you desire, your brain then believes that you do. If you believe you don't deserve them, then your brain doesn't think you do either. All right. And when I say if you believe you don't deserve things, then you don't, I don't mean that you don't actually deserve them. I mean that if you believe you don't, then your actions will mirror that belief. And if you believe that you do, then your actions will mirror that belief too. You'll start finding ways to make your desires a reality, and it will become normalized for you to get the things you want. So we want to get into that kind of pattern, right? And I'll be honest, I'm often in that kind of a pattern because I do have the tools and I know how to do this. But sometimes things just build on themselves, and I get out of the good habit and into a bad habit, and I need to get back to the good habit. So I'm sharing that with you because that's normal. Even if you know what to do, it's still normal to kind of fall away from the things that you know how to do better. And it still gets better each time. My process around this has improved. I can still show up for the things that I have created good habits around in other areas of my life, like this podcast, and still feel good and show up and do good work. But in the areas that I haven't built good habits around that are new, or new things I want to build, or inspiring things, like all these different things, that's where it really, everything kind of starts to suffer. So habits. All right. One other thing that's interesting, your brain, it doesn't care why you believe these things. It doesn't care about the reason you're telling yourself these things. It just knows whatever you say is true. That's how it thinks of it. It becomes a knowing. And if you believe you can change your life, or if you believe you're stuck, either one is just as true as the other if you're telling yourself that one is true. If you're telling yourself you're stuck, your brain's like, I guess I'm stuck. If you tell yourself that you are on the road to change your life and, things are going well, your brain believes that. So the key is to remember that you get a say in the thoughts you have. You can literally change the way you think by choice. And then your actions will reflect these beliefs. So what do you believe? What do you want to believe? What would it feel like to let yourself believe something you want to believe, but don't think it's for you yet? What would it feel like to try it, to say it to yourself instead of one of those shitty things you've been saying? Maybe just replace one of those things just to try it on as a process. So let's talk about abundance again. What do you want? Don't worry about the how or things that you feel are in your way of having it right now. What do you actually want? You do get to have it. You do get to be who you most desire. You do get to share the way you want to share. You do get to live in your fulfillment. And you do get to do it in ways that feel amazing to you, that are your inherent gifts. If you're creative, you can be abundant that way. If you're a healer, you can be abundant. If you're an artist, you can be abundant. If you have a small business, you can find your abundance. You get to believe it is for you. You get to decide you're worth it. You get to decide it's possible for you and not just certain kinds of people. And so do I. The first step towards your abundance is believing you can have it. And the key to believing in yourself is being kind to yourself and choosing to love yourself and creating thoughts and actions that are kind and compassionate to yourself. So spend time observing what you say to yourself. You may not be stuck in a negative self-talk loop like I've been lately, but there may be more subtle things you say to yourself about what you can have that you might not even realize are dictating your belief systems about yourself. And your beliefs create your actions. And truly, your subconscious mind is very powerful in that way. So start observing, allow some awareness, give yourself permission to change it, and start reframing. And I do suggest writing a list of a few phrases that might need reframing more often, whenever you notice you say a lot to yourself. Maybe it's something like, I'm lazy, and you notice this is your most common thing that you're saying throughout the day. Write down the reframe for this or a few different ones and read them each day. Write them down each day maybe, if that's helpful, like writing them out. And let that be a part of your self-talk and your reframe process. You get to decide what you say to yourself, and you get to decide what you believe. You also get to decide what you get to have in this life. And you know what? You do get to have it. Be bold, keep creating, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Be Bold Begin. We hope that these episodes are helping inspire and empower you to take your next steps towards whatever you're thinking of creating. And if you want more tools, resources, and techniques for your creative process and to connect with me directly, then I'd love to invite you to our Unleash Creative community. Just follow the link in the show notes and I'll look forward to meeting you there. Happy creating.